We begin today in Kenya, where Health Minister Mutahi Kagwe has said the country is experiencing a third wave of COVID-19 infections. On Wednesday, the country recorded the highest number of coronavirus cases in a day so far this year, after registering 713 positive cases. The Health Ministry has also reported a rise in COVID-19 patients on ventilators in hospitals. President Uhuru Kenyatta is expected to address the country on COVID-19 control measures on Friday. Let's get more on this story from Kenyan journalist Abi Agina. Abi, thank you so much for joining us on Network Africa.
Thank you for having me.
So how are Kenyans reacting to the health minister's warning that the country is experiencing a third wave of COVID-19 infections?
Well, this news has continued to grip national attention in the country, and considering the fact that, as you rightly put it, the president is set to address the country come the 12th of March, which will be marking 1 year since Kenya announced its first COVID-19 case. A lot of concern around the citizens who had hoped that the country had managed to contain the spread of the virus through the various measures that had been put in place. As we know, as of now, the situation remains very dicey, even as different narratives are coming up that the government might further put in stronger measures to ensure that we combat the virus. As of now, majority of Kenyans are fatigued by the various restrictions that include having their masks on, as well as washing their hands regularly and sanitizing. Social distance is no longer being practiced in full force in most parts of the country, perhaps a critical indicator as to why we have a surge in the number of cases.
We understand that Kenya recorded 713 positive cases yesterday. Do we know what's responsible for the spike in cases that we're seeing?
Well, according to the Ministry of Health, there are indications show that following the reopening of schools, this had a big impact because the super spreaders, these are the young children who are back in school, might be immune to the disease. At the same time, the country is facing a major constitutional moment where we shall be going into a referendum sometime into the year. And this has led to a lot of political events happening across the country, which the ministry is of the view that this could have been major contributors to the rapid spread of the virus. And of course, over and above that, there's been a lot of air travel across the region, which has also been flagged as a possible cause for the much spread of the virus. We do understand that from the Ministry of Health, quite a number of the intensive care units in the country are full, and actually the Minister for Health, Mutahi Kagwe, did announce that as a country, the ICU facilities have really are actually full. Let me walk you through a few of the numbers. Well, according to the minister, the latest statistics show the highest positivity rate at 14% compared to the Monday earlier this week, which stood at 11.8%. So this technically means 563 patients are admitted to hospital, while 1,588 are under home-based care.
Well, President Uhuru Kenyatta is expected to address the nation on Friday. What measures are being considered by the government to combat this third wave?
It would be too soon to tell, but the government has been of the view that they will not hesitate to reintroduce the tough measures they had put in place. Quite a number of measures that were put in place. This includes the curfew, which was touted to be a major player in terms of stopping the spread of the virus. Well, the other items that might be on the table for the government, of course, is the county lockdown. As you know, Kenya is divided into counties, which in Nigeria would refer to them as provinces. So the counties, the inter-county lockdown is also likely to be one of the cards on the president's table. And of course, the the drastic measures that might really send shockwaves into the economy, of course, is restricting other countries to allow their nationals into Kenya. This basically means Kenya shutting down its airspace. These are some of the measures that the government might be contemplating in case the numbers are not nipped at the bud. Well, the positivity rate is quite high, but in equal measure, the vaccine has already checked in into Kenya. We are receiving a new consignment from India as we speak right now at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. We understand that close to 2 million doses are actually expected into the country from the Republic of India, which will be a major boost towards vaccination across the country. Right now, the vaccination exercise has restored some level of confidence in the fight against COVID in the country.
Yeah, but you mentioned some points there about vaccination, but overall, give us an update on the country's COVID-19 vaccination program. How's that going?
Well, already so far, we understand 4,000 Kenyans have been vaccinated, and this has happened since the vaccine was received into the country. Well, we do know that there are now about 110,000 and 356 confirmed cases of COVID in the country. Well, other than that, out of these numbers, there seems to be a glimmer of hope because the number of recoveries have also been rising, standing at about 167 people have recovered, while 12 patients have succumbed. And the government plan is to ensure that the country eventually receives close to 36 million doses will be administered to 16 million people, which is 30% of the population, well, considering that the vaccine will be administered in double doses, that is of 8 to 12 weeks. And that's the exercise so far has been moving smoothly. The major leaders in the country are yet to be vaccinated. That includes the president, the deputy president, a former prime minister, as well as the cabinet secretaries. So the vaccination exercise is, as give or take, has been on a good path. But we are yet to hear from the health workers, majority of whom say the country was a bit ill prepared in terms of training. There is a bit of vaccine hesitancy from some of the workers, which will be a big deterrent to the uptake of the vaccine into the health workers' quarters. So it is a game of wait and see, especially now that the minister is pushing for full vaccination across the counties. Remember very well that the COVID vaccine immunization is a voluntary exercise. The way the government has communicated in public is the fact that it is for those that are willing to take the dose. But clearly, it's an uphill task, if you ask me.
All right, then, Kenyan journalist Abi Agina, thank you so much for bringing us up to speed, and do stay safe. Well, still on the COVID-19 pandemic, Uganda has kicked off mass vaccination against COVID-19 today after receiving 864,000 doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine last week. Health Minister Jane Ruth Aseng was the first to receive a jab at the main hospital in the capital, Kampala. Priority is being given to health workers in the country, and many of them lined up at Mulago Referral Hospital in Kampala to receive receive the vaccine. Other groups scheduled to receive the vaccine are security personnel considered essential in supporting the COVID-19 response, teachers, adults aged over 50 years, and people with underlying health conditions. Those vaccinated now will receive their second doses in May and June. An additional supply of 2.68 million vaccine doses from the COVAX scheme is expected in June. To other stories now, the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken says the people of Tigray in northern Ethiopia are being subjected to what he calls ethnic cleansing. While testifying before a congressional committee, he called on the Ethiopian government to stop abusing human rights in the region. Mr. Blinken also says the Eritrean troops and a separate Ethiopian militia must get out of Tigray. Earlier this month, he urged Addis Ababa to allow an international investigation into alleged atrocities in the region. But the Ethiopian government has dismissed U.S. criticism, saying the Tigray war is a matter of internal matters.
Tigray today is unacceptable and has to change. We have two other challenges that go to the security piece. One is we have, as you know, forces from Eritrea that are there, and we have forces from an adjoining region, Amara, that are there. They need to come out. We need to get an independent investigation into what took place there, and we need some kind of process, a reconciliation process, so that the country can move forward.
Meanwhile, a senior Ethiopian diplomat has resigned in protest over alleged atrocities being committed in the ongoing conflict in the northern Tigray region. The deputy chief of mission at the Ethiopian embassy in Washington, Barhan Kidarmariam, blamed the genocidal war in Tigray for his resignation. He criticized Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed for leading the country down a dark path towards destruction, adding that the government is lying while the whole world bears witness. Thousands of people are reported to have been killed and hundreds of thousands have fled their homes. Away from the Tigray conflict, the Libyan parliament has approved the government of national unity presented by the new interim Prime Minister, Abdul Hamid Dbeibah. The vote took place at a rare session of the parliament in the city of Sirte. The unity government is the latest stage in a UN-backed plan that is aimed at trying to resolve a decade of violence and instability in Libya, with an election due to be held in December. Mr. Dbeibah thanked MPs and the parliament itself, riven with division, for putting the country ahead of their personal interests. Senegal is holding a day of national mourning for victims of the recent violent protests that left at least 8 young people dead. The protests were sparked by the arrest of an opposition leader, Ousmane Sonko, who is accused of rape. The crisis is the most serious seen in several years. In a statement on Wednesday night, President Macky Sall also announced that a health emergency declaration imposed over the coronavirus pandemic will be lifted on March the 19th. A nightly curfew enacted because of the pandemic has been blamed for stifling the informal economy. The protests were also fueled by economic inequalities and concerns over young people's standard of living. Now, Somalia's former president, Ali Mahdi Mohammed, is dead. He died at a hospital in neighboring Kenya at the age of 82. He rose to power in 1999 after the overthrow of President Siad Barre and stayed in office until 2000. He was succeeded by Abdikasim Salat Hassan. President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo says flags will fly at half-mast for 3 days in honor of the former president. President Farmajo adds that a national funeral committee has also been appointed. The Prime Minister of Côte d'Ivoire, Hamid Bakayoko, has died in a hospital in Germany. Authorities say Bakayoko, who was receiving treatment for cancer, passed away on Wednesday, just days after his 56th birthday. He was appointed Prime Minister in July following the sudden death of his predecessor, Amadou Gon Coulibaly. President Alassane Ouattara has described Mr. Bakayoko as a great statesman, an example to young people, and a man of exemplary loyalty. The late Prime Minister was flown to France in February for medical tests and was later transferred to Germany due to his worsening health. A former media executive who turned to politics, he played a prominent mediation role in Côte d'Ivoire's civil war during the first decade of the century. South Africa has taken bold steps with the successful test launch of the University of KwaZulu-Natal's Phoenix 1B sounding rocket that took place at a test range in the Western Cape. The successful launch saw the test rocket travel 17.9 kilometers into the air, achieving a new African hybrid rocket altitude record. The Phoenix 1B is the third rocket variant to be developed by the university's Aerospace Systems Research Group, which is funded by the Department of Science and Innovation. It's third time lucky, as the first attempt in 2014 and the second in 2019 were unsuccessful owing to nozzle failure and software issues. For more on this story, our South Africa Bureau Chief Betty Dibia spoke with the leader of the Aerospace Research Group of the KwaZulu-Natal University on the significance of this launch.
Minister talked about all the advantages and the prospects. In simple English, for the man on the street, what does it mean?
You know, it's a demonstration of what's possible. And I'm pretty sure that even what happened on Monday is gonna inspire a few youngsters to overcome the odds, overcome the challenges, and take up a career in engineering or in science and maths. There's nothing better, at least in my view, than a rocket launch in inspiring dreams in people. And that's our hope.
Okay. Some of the students were quite excited being part of this, and they voiced their excitement. What was it like working with students? I know this started like 2010, I think. That's when the project itself started.
So the Phoenix program started in 2010. So during that process, we've gone through a number of students, but also it's spun off other research projects that are coupled to the program that have been brought under the umbrella of the program. So it's in the order of 10 graduates already that we've been through, and we've got a host of new students currently coming into the program. And it's really where you see the outcomes of what they learn in their undergraduate degrees. You begin to understand how much of what's been taught to them is actually sunk in. But what's most exciting really is just the incredible talents that we have access to.
I know it's third time lucky, if I'll put it that way, 2014, 2019. What was it like going through that process and getting to this point that everything went well?
It was nerve-wracking coming into this launch, but we were as prepared as we've ever been for a launch. And I think if we had been unsuccessful again, there would have been some need for antidepressants, I think. But there was just absolute jubilation, especially when we passed that sort of psychological barrier of 10 kilometers, then went past the record altitude, and then carried on going up and up.
What next for the ASREC project? And then any likelihood of partnership with other African countries, probably areas of strength of others and what you can teach others?
Well, the Phoenix program is going to continue. It's established itself as a really excellent tool for attracting students and training them up. Our objective is to create the propulsion platform that's required to operate a launch vehicle for small satellite services. And that's the hardest part of a rocket to get right. So we're targeting that. We're making some pretty good progress. This year we are looking to test fire our first prototype engine, which is much, much bigger than what we've worked on before. And then in terms of collaboration with other African countries, we've been keeping a very low profile because we're resource constrained and really our focus must be on the technology side of things. But government is starting to see what can be achieved, and we're expecting pretty soon some interactions with other countries as well. It's all about the resources.
The issue of disruptive satellite technology, you've made bold moves forward. Now, and you talked about commercialization. What are the prospects in that regard?
In terms of commercial prospects, the small launch vehicle development industry or sector is very, very competitive now. It's really just begun with Rocket Lab's ventures in the past few years. There are a lot of other smaller companies that want to come online. But the way we see it is we're pretty confident that we've got the right formula to take advantage of what Africa can offer, especially in terms of geolocation, in terms of the heritage infrastructure that we have, particularly in South Africa. And we're pretty confident that we can come up with a competitive system. What it does require, though, is some bold investment.
And now a pizzeria in Tunisia's capital, Tunis, is making what some say is Africa's most expensive pizza, with each pie costing up to $360. Let's take a look.
Everyone loves pizza. In Tunisia, you can find a slice for everyone, including those who love gold and can afford it. An Italian restaurant has invented a $360 pizza covered with luxury foods and edible gold leaf, a prestigious creation that integrates the world of luxury thanks to its unique character. The restaurant's founder, Ahmed Hergal, says he wanted to break the records for the most expensive pizza in Africa by adding it on the pizzeria's menu.
We chose to do this pizza so we can put luxurious and very high quality ingredients, and when we did all that, the price rose.
This pizza is covered with 24-karat gold leaf. However, this is not all. It's also topped with truffle cream and truffles, embellished with Di Bufalo Campana mozzarella cheese, smoked duck's breast. It's garnished with gold flakes, gold spray, and an edible flour garnished with the famous pizza dough made of black charcoal. However, many people do not like the price of the pizza.
I see it as a process of making a special criteria restaurant. When you travel and find a respected chef or a restaurant, you find a product with your own fingerprint and very expensive. I saw many comments on social media and people did not like the price. For me, I will not buy it. Not because I do not like it, but I will not buy it.
But Hegel disagrees.
There are many people who understand this initiative differently and say, why do you make such expensive pizza when you live in a country that is going through a crisis? This pizza is not for everyone. It is directed mostly to people who come from abroad or to Tunisians who want it. As there are people who travel to buy expensive food, we bring it to them here because now they cannot travel due to the coronavirus situation.
Meanwhile, Hegel admits that demand on his luxurious pizza is still not what he wishes for in the restaurant which he owns with two of his friends. Therefore, they sometimes offer the gold-embellished pizza as part of services for special customers.
Well, I just hope it's worth the price. And that's Network Africa today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Teniola Shuboale.